Well, if this isn't one of the coolest things you've seen in a while, I don't know what is. Well, this is the Yarbo autonomous lawn robot. This thing is pretty wild. There is so many features to get into this thing, so let's just jump right in this thing. And yeah, I'm controlling this with an Xbox controller. Let's take a look at this thing. All right, so while we're waiting for this thing to charge back up, it actually came out of the box about 55% charge, which is actually pretty cool. I was actually able to kind of use it around the yard a little bit here, kind of see how well the thing drives around. Some interesting specs about this thing. I want to go over the specs first on this, guys, before I really jump into this review, because the specs on this thing are pretty beefy, I will say. This thing weighs 134 pounds out of the box. That's why it's so hard to pull out of the box by yourself. Definitely want two people to pull this thing out of the box with you, because this thing is super heavy. The craziest thing that I discovered on this, this actually has a tow hitch that you can install. It comes in the box, actually is really cool. This thing will tow as much as my Toyota Tacoma, my first gen Toyota Tacoma. This thing will tow as much as it does. It's a 3,500 pound max gross trailer weight of 3,500 pounds. That's pretty insane. Charge time of 3 hours, actually pretty cool. Operating time per charge, a little bit of asterisk on this one, guys. It's a 4-hour operating charge. That's just in its regular mode without any accessories. So if you're running like the snowblower, you're running like the leaf blower like I am, it's gonna be about an hour, hour and a half of runtime there with that. It's not gonna be the full 4 hours. When it's using an accessory like that, it's actually pulling from its main battery, not an external battery, a separate battery, which would be kind of a cool feature, that have a separate battery dedicated to whatever accessory it's using to kind of basically double runtime. Would be kind of a cool feature to see in the future. Now, operating temperature. This is key, because you're going to see a lot of different things, you know, be sensitive to operating temperature. This thing is battery powered, it's not gas powered. This thing will work from -13 to 113. That's pretty sweet, because if you're thinking, hey, I want a snowblower, I also want a battery operated snowblower, can this thing work in the cold? Which a lot of things, you know, like a Tesla, for example, when it drops below certain temperatures, you lose, of course, a bunch of range. This thing says, no, we're still gonna be working just fine in the freezing temperatures, which is pretty cool. Max cover is gonna be 31 acres. If you're wondering, I'm on about 7 acres here now. Depending on how high the water comes up, you do lose a little bit of acreage there. But my driveway is about a 1/4 mile long. We don't actually need the entire driveway blown off, kind of more just the parking area here, which I would say is about maybe half an acre total. Now, my big question on this thing is, I'm wondering if this thing will be smart enough to understand that, hey, it's not like snow, where, hey, snow just kind of blankets down. It's pretty even, you know, on the whole driveway you're trying to clear off. Whereas we have leaves here, and of course, that's heavily affected by things like wind. So we oftentimes get leaves will bunch up around the cars. Certain areas will bunch up more leaves, and certain areas will have then no leaves, depending on the wind, of course. I'm kind of curious how that's going to affect that quite a bit here. Max moving speed of 1.34 miles per hour. To be expected, of course. It's a tracked vehicle, so that makes sense. And speaking of tracks, I've noticed that in other reviews, even on their own website, there are different tracks available for this, but there's not really mention of that anywhere else. I'm assuming that depending on your climate, my guess on this one is kind of where you're going to be picking different types of tracks up, because of course I got the regular leaf blower attachment for mine. I've got more of a kind of summer style all-terrain tracks, I guess, on there. They're less designed for snow, of course, and more designed for just regular cement, dirt, things like that. So I'm not really sure on that one. And then the recommended hitch clearance, which is going to be 7.87 to 9.84 inches on that. Kind of giving you a clearance there with that hitch. So yeah, this thing is pretty spectacular when it comes to some of these specs here. Pretty blown away by that. Let me show you guys some of the tips and tricks here about unboxing this thing. It's pretty daunting, I will say that, but definitely watch some of the videos Yarbo's put out. They put out a ton of videos on how to install this thing. I kind of just went and jumped right into it and read the manual. I did run into some weird issues when installing this thing, and let me show you guys this. So even on step 14 here, it says locate the low RTK antennas, which is cool. You know, I got to that part, but there's no low RTK antennas even included in the box on this thing, because it gives you the actual box contents on this. All they give you is 2 high RTK antennas. That's all they give you, which is kind of weird. I don't understand that one. I mean, it still works fine without the antennas. But I mean, yeah, I mean, look, here's the full box contents on here. They have the mounts, but they don't have the antennas in there. kind of weird. I'm not sure what that means exactly. The other thing too is when I put the Smart Assist module onto the Yarbo core, I'm not really sure why, but it's extremely loose. And I put in like 4 times, making sure I put in exactly the right way it should go on, and it's still super loose. I'm not sure if that's as intended. Like, I know it's designed to go up and down for things like the snowblower, the leaf blower and stuff, but I don't know, it doesn't feel like it locks in just snugly as it should. But that's kind of been the only 2 issues I've had when it comes to actually assembling this whole thing together. Other than that, it's actually pretty simple. The last thing I've noticed is with the controller, which I've got charging up now, you gotta watch the video before you use the controller because it's not what you think. The app just says, hey, use the controller, it's the easy way to start, which I'm like, cool. And I try to use the controller, all I can get to do is the lights turn on and off, which is weird. When you watch the video, you actually have to press and hold one of the buttons down, and then you have to hold the right, it's the button above the right trigger, hold that one down while you're using one of the joysticks, and then move it. It doesn't explain that anywhere else, anywhere in the manuals, in the app at all. You gotta actually watch one of the videos to actually be able to do that, which, again, you know, there's a lot of information that's going on with the whole Yarbo thing where you really, I would say, just start with watching the videos first. Kind of forget the manual right away, watch all the intro videos first, then check out the manual if you got questions. That's just the way I would do it, guys. Because, yeah, it does get a little confusing here and there. We're like, hey, I can just use this controller, right? And it's like, no, you can't. You know, there's a bunch of steps you have to understand how to use it. I understand that, of course, that right trigger button there is, of course, going to be like a safety. So you can't just, accidentally hit it while you put the controller down. A kid's going to grab it, start running over something with it. That's probably just a safety feature there. But I wish that was noted with the controller somewhere. That'd be really cool to see there. All right, let's talk about the data link here for a minute. So this piece actually comes in the same box as the Yarbo unit itself. Then, of course, all the remaining pieces you're going to need are going to be in this box here. Now, there is, of course, a lot to it. I do have a networking background myself. I do a lot of low voltage work, and I'm certified in a number of different low voltage stuff. So this to me is not crazy. I do like how they give you a lot of actually quality parts here. We of course have nice shielded. Let's see, what type of shielded is this in here? Cat 5e shielded. Awesome. So you get a nice bundle of this. I think this is like, what, 100 feet here? That's pretty cool. So they want this to be mounted in a location that gives you direct visibility to wherever your robot is working. So you get the whole kit here for mounting this up. And of course, this is actually pretty easy to do. It all snaps together nice and quick here. And then you can mount this pretty much as high as you possibly need it to go. So that is really nice. And this thing goes in pretty easy. All you can do is basically run this to a connection on your router and you are all set. Next up is going to be the wireless charging dock. Kind of a cool little wireless base here. It's actually designed to be used outside. I mean, it says IP67, protected against water and dust. Of course, charging temperatures are the same as the operating temperatures for the most part here, -13 to 113. So let's get this thing popped open and get this thing set outside. Oh, no, that's really cool, futuristic. And man, look at the beefy cable they give here for that charging. That is pretty sweet here. This is just your regular, but man, this looks like almost like a pro audio cable end here. That's pretty wild. All right, and if you're setting this thing up on concrete, you're in luck because it already has a little bit of these little rubber stoppers on the bottom. If you're setting this thing up on grass or, say, dirt, it actually includes little spikes that you can nail in to, of course, keep this thing secure. Again, this is actually a fantastic design. I like this little ramp design here. Of course, IP rated, so this thing can be just left outside. It doesn't even have, like, you got to leave it in like some over covering or keep a garage door open or something like that. This is actually a really great design here. I like this a lot. So yeah, easy to set this thing up, really easy to set this thing up in a way that it can keep it very autonomous. Not something that needs, like, hey, you got to plug it in, you got to remember to plug it in, you got to do something like that. This thing can just roll up there when it gets low on battery, then roll back out when it's fully charged. All right, guys, let me show you some of the different blower speeds here. We have speeds 1 through 3 on here. Also very cool, we actually have a blowing angle. This is kind of more useful if you got like the snow blower attachment, of course. But this basically allows you to adjust the angle here. Now, there's a couple of different hoses and nozzles in the box. I prefer just kind of the stock option. It's these little walkways here. You don't need a ton of power to push this stuff off here. And if you're wondering, hey, why not just use a higher speed? Well, of course, you want to save battery life on these things, of course. You do get about an hour and a half of usage with the blower, but you get a little bit more if you use the less speeds for the blower as well, too. So we're up to a little bit larger area here. Let's go to speed 2 and get a little bit more power there. So as you can see, we're able to kind of clear off the entire area here on speed 2 without much of an issue, which is exactly what you want to have here. Just like that. There we go. Now, of course, for something larger like a driveway, you want to go right into speed 3. So let's show you that now. And I've actually been pretty impressed by the blower on this thing. It's not a weak little blower by any means. I mean, you can tell it's definitely loud, which is great. You want to be able to hear that definitely there as a full-size blower. I'm able to clear off my driveway pretty quick with this thing. It actually does a phenomenal job. Because even with handheld blowers, you can't even really get that low sometimes. And this thing has a great walking pace too. So super efficient how this thing works. Really love the overall design of this too. So the Yarbo did actually a pretty good job of being able to kind of stay within the lines of my driveway. I did, of course, set up a little bit of mapping on the app, of course. I do have to return this, so I didn't really set up a permanent fixture for the whole communication, data link stuff. I kind of set up quick, kind of get everything set up, ran it, kind of had fun with it. So yeah, it works overall pretty well. I will say the software side of things I think is phenomenal. Everything goes in really, really nicely. It's kind of the instructional stuff I found, like the manual and the videos. I know they've changed models and stuff a couple of times. They've kind of updated some things as they go. It still feels a little bit experimental yet. Like it's not really nailed down exactly how it should be just yet, which I think is kind of a good thing at this point, because of course they are still experimenting with, making it as good as they possibly can get it, which is absolutely fantastic. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see them saying, hey, this is as good as it's going to get. We're not going to make any more improvements. No. You want to keep seeing it get better and better and better. And that's actually perfect we want to see here. What would I improve with this thing? Honestly, probably just some better instructions and kind of setting it up. I think that's about it. It's a little daunting pulling this thing right out of the box. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff, pieces going on in here. I feel like if it was a little bit easier to assemble, like everything was mostly all put together, this thing would be really awesome. Pull it almost straight out of the box, plug into a charger and you're good to go. I think it would be really sweet to see that. I'd be super impressed to actually be like, hey, that's it. There's no assembly time. I spent probably, 3 hours, I would say, not just in assembly, but, looking up how everything works, maintenance stuff. Things like the tracks, they need to be lubricated, they need to be greased. I also found out too from earlier in the video that there are, of course, different types of tracks. You have summer and winter tracks, depending on using this in snow or using this in, like right now, it's raining a little bit now, depending on your type of environment. There's things like that to make note of course. It's not as simple as, set it and forget it. There are definitely maintenance items on this. Of course, a lot of stuff on here is a 2-year warranty. The tracks don't have a warranty themselves, which makes sense. It's a consumable item, but majority of the stuff on the Yarbo has a full 2-year warranty, which is great. And of course, they're always experimenting with, updating the apps, updating the software. This thing is getting better and better as it goes. So that's pretty cool to see. Of course, keeping it nice and waterproof, as I can do this video in the rain, which is pretty cool. You don't see that for a lot of products that, are outdoor use, AI stuff, automated. A lot of that stuff says too, hey, avoid getting wet. The Yarbo is like, bring it on. And I like that about the Yarbo actually a lot there. So yeah, would I say check this thing out? Yeah, definitely. If you're wondering, I've noticed no one covered this yet, but is this thing for commercial use? Well, I don't really know exactly. I've done commercial, lawn care stuff, not like myself personally, but I've worked in a company that did service for tools that did commercial lawn care, so we had to learn a bit about commercial lawn care doing that. Would this work for an environment where someone comes into a commercial setting and says, hey, we can do your lawn every week for you? Probably not, because this is not designed to be used from environment to environment. This is designed to be set and forget at one location. As in, it's got its charging dock, it's already got it mapped out. It's not designed to say, hey, learn a new location every single time you go set it down somewhere. So I'd kind of say commercial, probably not. I mean, it's kind of more designed for, if commercial is it's an in-house solution, yeah, but mostly for residential, and it's definitely going to be a bit of a niche product right now for a lot of residential stuff, just because, it's going to be it's really designed to just be kind of a set it in one location and go from there. That's really going to be how it is for most of the stuff at this point. So Yeah, that's kind of what I think about it so far. Really, really cool. Price point, I think, is not terrible for what it is. You know, it's this configuration as is 4 to 5 thousand. I know they kind of adjust the pricing here and there on that, but not too bad, honestly, at all for what it costs at this point. And of course, you know, what you get for the overall value, I thought that like the blower module wouldn't be that powerful. It's significantly more powerful than I thought it was. I absolutely love how powerful the blower module is. And yeah, I mean, the towing capacity, 3,500 pounds, that's crazy towing capacity on this thing. Yeah, everything about this thing has been super impressive, way overbuilt, way overpowered. Absolutely love it so far. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check them out. And take care, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe out there.